Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we're going to be talking about squats, specifically how to get your squats lower. So what we're going to do is answer questions for a while because people come up with some really good questions on YouTube comment section. Question I got, I can't remember the user's name, was we're talking about squats and squat depth, and he says he can't get below 90 degrees parallel. So standing all the way up is 180, all the way down is the bottom, and the middle we're gonna call 90 degrees, right? So 180, we're gonna call that 90 degrees there. And he's saying that he can't get his squat below 90 degrees. This is something that happens to people frequently in the modern Western world because all your chairs are about at 90 degrees. So most people never actually get below that. If they don't do martial arts or some very specific sport which causes them to go all the way down, then people don't go all the way down. And we see this a lot in different types of athletes. I see this a ton in doctors and lawyers when they come in to train because they spend a lot of their time standing or seated. Lawyers specifically never ever get out of the seated position and they're basically chair shaped all the time. Irregardless, doesn't matter how they got that way. What matters is the solution. And the solution is pretty simple. We are going to create a stack and we are going to sit down onto something with load and then we are going to stand up. And over the course of time, we are going to knock things out and make it lower and lower and lower. So the demonstration here, what we use here in the studio is pretty simple. We use our aerial mats, which are a little over an inch thick, about inch and a half. Now that they're old, they're a little thinner than they used to be. And we start, and then over time, we knock these off. And then we get a little bit lower. And then we get a little bit lower. And we're gonna show you how this goes. Now, the way that we do this is we tend to squat 2 to 3 times a week. And if people are having limited mobility, then we make the volume fairly low. 5 sets of 5, because we're not trying to get a training effect at a halfway point. We don't want to make them super strong and do 200 reps at a half a range of motion. We would rather do less work, focus on depth, and then get them lower. Once we get them to a full range of motion, then we will start adding more volume to the program or heavier weights. We need to load this up enough to cause a response inside the body so it can't be really light. This doesn't really work with body weight only, just sticking your arms straight out. You have to put load into it to force things to fire. In the beginning, we're gonna do my version of a goblet squat, which is globe up as opposed to handle up. 2 ways to do this. I'm going to use the globe up version because it's going to put your arms at 90 degrees and it's going to, at the bottom, allow you to lean back further. If you do globe up, as you would often do in CrossFit, that's gonna put you more into an Olympic position and it's gonna not allow you to get as far back into the squats. The difference between globe up and handle up. And let me show you what that actually means. Globe up. This is the globe, it is up. That puts your arms at a 90-degree angle. If your arms are above a 90-degree angle, you'll notice that this is terrible. And that's because you don't have control of this lever. The optimum place for you to have control of this lever is when your arms are at 90 degrees. What you'll notice is my elbows are close to my body. I'm trying to make this vertical. If my elbows are out, it's just gonna be awful. It's gonna suck. It's not gonna be efficient. Just put your bones in line with your body and make them vertical if you want to be vertical. We're doing the globe up as opposed to this version, the handle up version, which you see commonly in CrossFit. This is going to lead us into just having more control over the bell because we actually have our thumbs all the way around 2 handle surfaces as opposed to balancing a kettlebell on top or holding it in a crush grip or anything like that. What you're going to see is that this is eventually going to develop into other exercises. And you're gonna wanna have control. Otherwise, you're gonna drop it on your face, and your face is probably gonna, well, it's not gonna be good. Just don't do that. In the beginning, this is pretty high for now, so we would like to start above our range of motion that we have. We're gonna start by picking this weight all the way up, elbows at 90 degrees. We're gonna sit all the way down, And we are going to stand all the way up, down, and up. If you want to start making this sexy immediately, put in a little leg lift. Down, little leg lift. And we would do, let's say, 5 sets of 5, 2 or 3 times a week, probably at the end of a workout when your body is already very, very warm, because we're trying to lengthen a bunch of muscles that need to be lengthened under load. We don't want to do this cold. This is a bad idea to do cold. Next up, we are going to remove a mat from the equation. And you will now notice that I am lower. I am now just above 90 degrees. So, show you 3 reps. If you're feeling frisky, little foot lift. What does the foot lift do? The foot lift causes our core to fire for a brief second. So a lot of what the problem is when people can't squat below parallel is that things are not engaging. They're not all coming on at the right time. So we start at the top, we get down, we lift our feet up just a little bit, our core is forced to engage, because what we're doing is basically a micro V-up, right? A V-up would be here, okay? We're doing a micro V-up when we go down. We lean back far enough to lift our feet just up off the ground, things will engage. What you'll see at the beginning is you'll see things like this, where the feet come up at a different time because these muscles are just not coming on. All you have to do is practice, think about it, and try it again. Then we would get lower. And then we would get lower. So every week, we would start dropping mats out of this equation, and you would be right here, and you'd be like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? And you would sit all the way down and be generally safe. Then you would lean back, get your core to engage, put your heels down, drive all the way up, squeeze everything at the top. Squeeze leg, squeeze glute, squeeze abs. They're probably gonna be on if you're holding a weight in front of your body. That's why you hold weights in front of your body, because it forces your core to come on no matter what. And then we would take it down some more. Try not to knock over swords. Then we would take it down a bit more. 90 degrees. Get all the way down. Engage, lean back, lift the feet up, drive all the way up. Until we get lower and lower and lower. This one's getting pretty low. We're gonna keep lowering this week by week until we get pretty much all the way down to the ground. If you have not had knee surgery, you should be able to get down to about 2 mats. If you haven't had knee surgery, you should be able to get down really, really low. And what you'll notice is that I'm getting down very, very low. I have bad knees, so if I can do it, then you can probably do it. The problem that people have is that the muscles in their back are not kind of lengthening enough. And there's a whole length tension thing about the brain and the way that it affects the way your body moves and everything. This is a trick to kind of get around the whole thing. We can talk all about the science and the biology. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the levels. You just start knocking levels out little by little, front load it. You could do it with a kettlebell. You could actually do this with a dumbbell. You could, if you don't have access to kettlebells, do this with a dumbbell in this position. It's not ideal, but it will work. In order to get your squat lower, in general, for every type of squatting, this is the type of squatting that you should do first. It's basically a box squat where the box changes height in a predictable interval over time. You do 5 sets of 5, you do it 2 to 3 times a week. It will be hard on you because those muscles, as soon as you get lower, when you get below parallel, all kinds of muscles are gonna fire and turn on in ways that they're not used to turning on. So you will have to take it easy because there will be an adaptation phase. You'll get down as low as you can go. Do not change the weight, change no variables except the height of the box. If you change the weight or you change the grip, then you're turning it into something else. The way that you get really good at things is to change the minimum number of variables at a time, get really good at it, and then when you're really good at it one way, then you can change more variables. Do not rush this process. The power of this process is in taking your time. This idea originally comes from a book called Dinosaur Training, which is old. And this is how guys would lift absolutely massive amounts of weights. They did it in a rack with bars, and they would go down 1 inch and stand up with 700 pounds. And then they would go down an extra inch the next week. And they would go all the way down as low as they could go. And then they would start over by adding 5 more pounds. So that's where this idea originally comes from, but think about this as just a lowering box squat over time. Change one variable at a time, the height of the box. That's it. This has been Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica.